writer gets a lot of work done at the beginning and then sort of sits back, and then, so it's in spurts. So during those spurts, I was doing the research for Casa Valentina, and it all came together that this might be an interesting play, and I went ahead and wrote it. My mother was brought up in the Catskill Mountains, in an orphanage in the Catskill Mountains, and so we spent lots of weekends up there in summers. We knew about the place as kids. Everybody around knew about it. It wasn't a secret, in small towns, so everybody knew. But my brother and I were much more interested in the nudist camp that was across the way. We could maybe see titties over there, but who cares about a bunch of men walking around in dresses? But I've known about it all my life. When Colin Callender asked me about it, and he sent me some photographs, I said, I've dealt with men in dresses, do I really have anything else to say about men in dresses? And he said, well, have a look into it. He said, and I said, truthfully, I don't know much about heterosexual men in dresses. Okay, let me do some research. And I started doing the research, and I became absolutely fascinated. They are an absolutely fascinating group. And I mean, now I went from knowing, really not aware of much, to now having heterosexual transvestite friends, and I'm much more involved in the community. Though it'll be curious to have them see the play and see what they think of the play, because it does take place in '62. It is 50 years ago, and it's about a struggle within the group 50 years ago. Here's the thing that's most interesting. There's no two people that have the same reason for getting in drag, gay or straight. This community of heterosexual transvestites, every one of them is individual, and every one of them has a little bit different view of why they do it. For some it's more sexual, for sure. For some it's an identity thing, for sure. For some it's a release of tension. For others it's just a release from the hard role of being a man and all those responsibilities of being a man. I did find that many of these girls as children felt less manly. That these are the heterosexual transvestites I'm talking about. Right. They felt they weren't good at sports. Some felt somewhat like little for their age. But it wasn't everyone. It was as individual as anything else. In this community that is joined together by clothing, there was no two that were exactly alike, and that's sort of the point of the play, is we aren't a group. We are a group because we all want the same thing, which is the freedom to be ourselves. But doesn't everyone want the freedom to be themselves? Isn't that the struggle? To live an authentic life is the struggle for all of us, whether we wear high heels or sneakers. When I was putting the play together, the wives would always talked about it, were always a part of it. Many wives came up on weekends with their, but the Chevalier d'Eon, the actual resort, was run by a husband and wife. She owned a wig shop on Fifth Avenue, and he, I think, was a court stenographer, and they were a married couple, and they ran it together. So Rita, the character that Mare plays, was always a part of their life. Most of these gentlemen had children, so having a child in your life was something else. I mean, I did a talk at Green Space the other day, and a woman raised her hand and said, "I'm a veteran." I didn't know what that meant. And she said, "My father went to the Chevalier d'Eon. I have hundreds of photographs of him in drag, and when I grew up knowing that he was doing this, so yeah, it's a part of life."
I didn't know what to think really, except in my mind there was this image of a bunch of guys sitting around in dresses who weren't drag queens, so they didn't really do anything that was fun. And, they like to read and crochet and chat about what it is and work on their femme personalities and things like that. So I thought that should be like really really funny. But now that I've been working on it, I find it very hard, to get into that world because it is so unbelievably sort of something that is just an instinctive way of being, and not an intellectual way. That's what's fun about it. It's totally unknown. And even from what I hear, and I think we've had several people come in and chat with us who are cross-dressers. It seems like they don't even really know why they do it.
That's good. That works. Yep.